Hello friends, it's Jiftesh from Codeigniter. In today's session, we will look into how we can use multiple environments within the Codeigniter. So I have set up this the Scratch project from the CI, and I want to use like .env for production, because the thing is, I can, for normal my projects, normally I have a different database configuration for the my development environment, for the production, or even my emails or anything settings point of view. If and I like this part from the Laravel. If you know it with Laravel, then what in the Laravel what you can do is basically you can do the PHP artisan serve, and then you can do env, and then you can give which environment, like local or production is by default. So I want to have the similar one, because when I move my application to the production, of course, .env you never commit to the Git or any repository, but then I set up it once on my server, but then I want to, of course, you want to do further changes as when you're adding new features, then you want to work on local as well, and many times then I have to change it. So let's see how we can do in the Codeigniter. All I want to do is that if I do like right now PHP Spark serve, then of course it will take the by default .env file. All I want to do is I want to give environment local, and then it should be development environment, otherwise by default it should be the production one. So the way we can do is, if I quickly show you, if I go into this right now, and this is pretty much standard website right now, so which is over here. So as you can see, the environment right now is production, which is by default, and I want to show you this one. So let's say this is a production, and I want to actually, let me duplicate this one, and then I will name it as environment.local. okay, I have space, I think, so let me correct it. Yeah, and then this one I want as a development. Okay, what I will also do is I will change the I will add the database configuration so that we can see it is working fine later on. So I will create the database here as dev, so that we can see the difference. I'm gonna make as a SQLite, so that is easy. We can do quickly check SQLite 3 as a driver. Okay, and by default it will when I run the migrate, then it will create in the writable folder, we will see. And I want to do the same thing for production. So let's say in production I have data name as prod, and this as SQLite 3 as a driver. Okay, so now there are two things. When you run any PHP Spark command, it comes to this file because you're running PHP Spark, and then you will see here, if you go down, this is where then it is loading the .env. It is calling the .env class, and then it is loading into that one. Now the problem is here it is by default loading .env. It is not giving us any option. Actually in Codeigniter, let me stop this server, and if I show you, there is one command called php spark env, which will tell us the current environment as it can production. But if I do, you can set the environment as well. So I can say development. You have two options only, production or development. So if I do PHP Spark environment env development, it will set the development. But what it does is, you see this, the .env, it's gonna update the value over here. I will show you. So let me take it down here. Keep on looking at this value. If I click not so env development, see, it changed the .env itself. It is okay, changing the CI environment to development, but I don't want that. It is not just environment. I want specific fields for my configuration for my database, so that command doesn't work what I need. It doesn't work. The CI is not built that way, but I want that feature. So the way we can do is, so like I was saying, so Spark is the very first one. This is where they are loading. So what I can do is, but if you look into the .env file, see, it does take the file path itself. By default they are passing env, so they created a class in that way that you can pass the different the configuration, the environment file, but there's no mechanism here to do that one. So what I'm going to do is that, so one thing is we have to of course change the Spark, because that's where the environment is setting up. But then I will mention you about, there is an index.php in the public folder as well. We have to change there as well, because when you run, that is the first file which is hit when you start a web server. It does create Spark because you do PHP Spark serve. So as soon as you do PHP Spark serve, it gonna come to, it is you're triggering this file, and then you're basically passing the command, what command you are giving it. So it triggers a Spark first, so we need to set up the file over here. So what I can do is that after this, if let me say if I just want to create environment, and by default I'm gonna call it production, okay, because if nothing is given, then I want to have the production. And then the way you when you run any PHP command like this, any file, if you are from PHP background, if you're not totally new, you know that you get the arguments in argv like this one. So we will get all the arguments. So this will come as an array. So in this case, I will get serve as a argument. And in our case earlier, when I did PHP env development or anything like that, so it gives me 2 arguments over there in an array. So I can actually show you as well. So let me if I do, let me var dump. And I can show you argv. So quickly let me run that development again. Okay, so you see it is now giving it array. So it gives the command Spark as at the 0 position, then env development. So whatever you pass, it passes that way. So I have ran that command, so it must have changed. I want .env to be production by default. I want to use .env.local for my development. Okay, so that's how you get the arguments. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to for each loop into that one, and I'm going to say arg_ev as I'm going to just take an argument. Okay, and then I'm going to say is that if argument is equal to env, because that's how I want to pass, because as you know, with PHP Spark commands, you have a lot of different commands, you pass a lot of different arguments. I don't want to interfere with any of the existing arguments. That's the reason I'm defining a specific --env, and I'm going to say if it is a local, because that's what I'm gonna call it. You can call anything, but shorter, local is shorter. So if it is a local, then I'm going to set environment as development. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. And so we set by default production, means if you don't pass any env, it will be by default production. If it is then we can check if our env is development. Okay, then I want to load this file. Like I mentioned, .env takes 2 parameters. One is of course path, and then it takes the file name as well. So now here I can specify which env file. Okay, here I can specify env local, or else then it loads this normal one, which it will take .env. So that's all you need to change in the Spark. So I hope you understand this part. Now let's quickly have a look what we need to change in the public index file, because if you see index file, the code is pretty much same. If you see, all the code is exactly what you have in there as well. But like I said, before you will reach here, Spark command will already run. It will allocate the environment. So then what I can do over here is, all I need to do, because environment is already set, and I can check if env, actually I can just copy this one, CI environment, because by this time it has already loaded .env.local or .env, and I can say if this is development, then load this, because I don't want that to be overwritten because it runs twice here. So I can say else you load this. Okay, here we need to specify as .env.local. Yeah, perfect. Let's try. Okay, now I want to first of all do normal PHP Spark serve, and if I check, okay, it is still saying production. Now let's say I close this one and then I say env local. Okay, now let's see it is now development. Okay, good. Now I want to check the other commands are working fine as well, like migration. I want to see, okay, it is creating right database. Okay, let's do that way. So if I do PHP Spark migrate, okay, now it should pick from .env, and if it is env, you can see that it is where it is. If it is env, then it is production. Okay, let's say. Okay, it completes the migration. Now if I go to writable folder, you see it has created the production. Of course it's .database file, and let me now change it, and let's say PHP migrate env local. Okay, now let's see it has now created dev as well. So that's how you can use multiple environment files, and it's very handy. At least for me it is very handy. I know that in case I run anything different, I will be running the production one on my local, so that's absolutely fine, and I have to specify myself, okay, I'm doing development server, so I do .env.local. Hope this you guys help to you if you're managing various projects and you are constantly working on new features on your production one, and I will speak to you again with a lot more good stuff. Okay, see you guys, bye.